I'm with David this morning, so, well, thanks for coming by.
Yeah, my pleasure.
We've always had a good time talking to each other.
Indeed, indeed. We had a nice talk just last week, I guess, when we were having coffee, and had a few interesting topics that came up then.
You know, conversation or communication, it takes a balance, and you have to kind of know who you're talking to, and you have to kind of, and not exactly sync with their energy, but somehow you have to understand uh, where they're coming from and where they're listening and where they're calculating what they want to say. And me too, you know, I'm calculating what I want to say. And so where am I listening? And somehow I feel that you and I fit together really good. And well, I think that I can fit together with a lot of people, but then I have to make some adjustments or try to get on their wavelength or try to getting my point. I think our rhythm is really good because we allow each other to build our point of view, and then we say, well, ask any questions that we might have about that point of view or something that's unclear to us.
Mm-hmm.
I want to make things always more clear because I feel, especially when we're making a video, we might be talking to a lot of people that we don't even know. And
Right.
so why should we talk in our own little jargon or things that we totally understand? Wouldn't it be better to kind of come down a step and go where I like to try to figure out what does everybody really know, because it's just so darn obvious. And talk from that, and then, yeah, you can build on that and go up, but I think you need to go down and touch that point.
Right. I definitely feel that. I feel, yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah. And then most people think, oh, well, that's a waste of time. We all agree that blah, 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 let's just start from there and move forward. Or move up, what does this mean? Okay, here's my premise. What does this mean? So then when I hear a premise, I either hear liberation or I hear confusion or more complication, let's say. Liberation or complication. And so then if I hear too much complications, I think, well, I shouldn't really take this argument and go with it. I should actually take this precept and dig into it. And so do I go up or do I go down, And then people don't like it generally if you go down because they say, why are you questioning what I said, And they take it personally, like, this guy doesn't believe me, or he's trying to convince me something else, or, well, this is a delicate ground. This is delicate.
Yeah.
And then some guys won't allow it. Guys or gals, just people. They just will say, no, take off. Let's see. Everybody knows. They don't even say everybody knows this. They just push up, and then I'm trying to push down, and so then I get to be kind of like I'm a nitpicker. What am I doing? Playing all those little ideas, and then, but if one of them is really good, I'm the first to acknowledge it if it's liberating. And I don't know.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about, what is conversation, because there's so many communication techniques, and in a way I'm presenting some ideas, so I'm doing a presentation now in a way, and other ways are, yeah, presentation is like a conversation to inform, or I'm just giving you my point of view of real basic concerns of, like, how do we talk with each other, and then from there we can talk about things, right? But we know how we talk with each other. So are we making a presentation? Well, in the world, each person has their point of view, and maybe sometimes it's a very strict point of view, comes from their, okay, everything comes from our conditioning, everybody, but so then when we hear an idea, we either try to defend it or we try to somehow erode it or say that it's not the way it is. And yeah, I don't want to get into defense. In other words, this kind of a conversation is just like presenting a theory or presenting my possibility or presenting. In other words, I'm telling you, there's different kinds of conversations. So I don't know if there are even, but for me, that's how it works.
I definitely think there are. I think I would look at something a little bit different too. You said everything. I mean, you were just talking quickly, but the phrase you said, everything comes from our conditioning. It doesn't feel. I would add, the conditioning seems to me what conditions what is going on, but there's something more than that that's going on. I think there's an unconditioned awareness prior to the conditioning factors that come out. So I think, to me, a real conversation is sort of touching on that piece too, where when I listen to you, okay, I listen to the facts and the presentation and the structures and all that, but I also try to listen behind that to the alive awareness, which is trying to use those forms to communicate. And then I feel like it's an interesting conversation when we're aware that that's going on too, if that made any sense.
Well, yeah, we could just be quiet and we could kind of like set our conditioning down. Okay, we're holding this thing, it's a conditioning, and then we say, okay, let's put this down a sec, and then we can just like, well, we can just rest and then take off again, But still, conditioning just means all our experience, and then either conscious or then it's cultural embeddedness, which is probably unconscious. We could dig into it and point out a few factors, but the whole picture of it, both of us are Western men, and so we're totally poisoned. But everybody, So, a good word. Okay, I really believe in language as like the access point to changing things. People want to change something because it's irritating, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, personal, family, community, nation, world. There's a lot of irritating things that seem like it doesn't work. On a personal level, it might be just your definition. Like, okay, the dog's barking. Oh, that doesn't work for me. And then you change your definition. Oh, that's a nice dog, and he's got a good voice. And everything's okay, right? But if somebody says, oh, we're going to have a war, that doesn't seem like it could be my definition.
Right.
So you go, and there's a wide range of what you feel like you're in control of and what, I prefer in these kind of talks to stay. I hope I stay away from the world situation or from philosophies or from economic systems and stuff like that, because those kind of like are endless loops. And yeah, maybe you can make some kind of a sense out of it, but you really can't. You can't have a feeling that I'm making a difference. So let's just talk about our life, if I can do it, because lots of times when I talk about something and all of a sudden I want to give an example, and all the only ones that come up are complicated. So I'm talking kind of around in circles, so I hope I can pull it together a little bit.
Okay, pull.
Okay, whatever. So we do things, right? And they work, and they work because we're alive. we're still alive, right? But they are judged also. We judge them. And so then the judgment says, oh, that's not working so good. So then when we have a judgment that whatever is our reality set is not according to our preferences, we have a bad feeling about it, depending. It could be terrible. Our preferences is that we have a good income and we pay our rent and have excess money so we can do things. And then I lose my job. That's the reality of it. Oh my God, that feels bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a feeling that goes with an explanation, right? Someone else would say, oh my God, I got rid of that job. I'm going to go out and live in nature now. I'm going to just take what little I have, hop on my motor scooter and go into the woods. They love it, right? It's another definition. So then problems are when there's this discontinuity, like this is what I want, and then this is what seems to be happening. And then, we try to change what's happening, and we don't really try to change what we want. And maybe if we change what we want or how we define it, what's happening would change anyhow. Mm-hmm. It should be a kind of a reflection because your life is different than me. And so then the life situation is not a fixed or a constant. It just is a reflection of who I am and who you are.
Right, right. And I think a key word was seems, what seems to be happening. So I think when we change something about our perspective, our attitude, our wants, then actually what seems to be happening can change immediately because we're looking in a different way and from a different perspective. So I think for me, I have to keep remembering that what I see or what I say, oh, this is happening. Well, it's happening because I'm looking at it that way too. That's one of the factors. So it's not the only factor, but it's certainly a factor, how I'm looking at it. So if I change as you said, if I change what I want, what seems to be happening changes automatically.
Well, I'm totally on that wavelength, completely agreeing with you. And then maybe that's one of the reasons why we listen to each other, because we know what our experience seems to be happening, and then we could just kind of like extrapolate and say, well, when we talk to the other people, some of them don't go for that. And they think, oh, what I'm believing is the reason I do it is because it's true. Mm-hmm. Most people, I think, they try to approach what has a consistency, and a consistency can be called the truth, right? But then the consistency is made of two things, right? It's your conscious contact that tells you what the consistency is, and your conscious contact is your five senses. You see something, hear something. You remember something too. No, that's different. The conscious contact is only right now in the present. Mm-hmm. You taste something or smell something, so then the other component of what is how I recognize it or how I interpret it, and then that is the part that seems. That's where the seems come. It seems to be. Mm-hmm. It comes in there by my interpretation. How strong is that interpretation? Well, the reality of it is we probably can never know, like, what's the percentage? This is reality and this is my interpretation. What is it? Is it 50-50 or what, And I would have to say it's probably 99-1 or something, I mean,
maybe
because we just have an explanation, and that's our enculturation, and that's our, we don't know, but there's no sense trying to tell somebody you only know 1% and 99% is your dream world. There's no sense in telling anyone that, but you just kind of know that, if you're open to look, mm-hmm. that part that reality can actually expand.
Absolutely. I would add another way of looking at that. You had the 99% as interpretation. I think there's also another factor in that what we are seeing at all, what we're even allowing ourselves to take in, and very much it's happening automatically, is based on our preconditioning. And so what we're able to even notice, or what we do end up noticing, is already only a fraction of what's going on. So we're only noticing a fraction, and then of that fraction, we have an enormous interpretation about it. And so, I mean, there was an experiment by these guys that were trying to study evolution, and they were creating organisms on a computer and giving them abilities to sense their environment, and then like running a game to see which organisms survived in the environment, because they had to avoid danger, they had to get food. I think those are and maybe mate, something like that. They had something they had to perform, and they had an idea. What if one of these organisms can know everything? We let them get total information about what's going on in the environment. Well, they died immediately. They died out immediately. They died out immediately because they had no real priority. The ones that survived very, very effectively, they saw danger, and danger lit up their field. They saw food, and food lit up their field. They saw a mate, and a mate lit up their field, and everything else they didn't care about.
Oh, yeah, right. Focus.
And they survived.
They proved focus was important in evolution or something like that.
Something like that, right? So the idea is we're not
that's like a
seeing
computer model. So it's like what do you put in, you get out in a way. But okay. So let's.
I mean, my takeaway was kind of interesting that we're not. It reminded me that I'm not seeing the totality of what is. I'm seeing a focused evolutionary. The things I see are evolutionarily and culturally and personally important and charged for me, and they light up my environment, and I miss the rest.
Yeah. Importantly, you miss the rest because we're not a supercomputer.
Yeah.
But anyhow, okay, let's say where that goes. For me, like it goes to the. Let's see now. How should I put this? Yeah, we're not going to really dwell on telling people that they don't know much and that they should question everything, because, well, they do it to the best that they can already, and we're not really telling them how, and if we could even, So then
I can't.
We want to act in the world, and then I say that that language is a way, is a pathway or a link. I say it's the best link or the best handle on what's happening in the world to look at your language. There's so many other ways. There's look at your feelings, your bodily contractions, the chemistry in your brain. I don't know what. Mm-hmm. I think there's a million ways. Your emotions, your surroundings, your environment, your pollution, your digestion. There's so many things that are affecting you, and they're all affecting each other too. Because I'm just saying, language is kind of like for me, is the most efficient one to grab a handle on, and then see how it changes other things. Okay, so you want to change something. So then, what's your radius of action? What's your radius of ability to do something? And what are the limitations of that radius? And so then, what I'm going to say is the limitations are a verbal context. In other words, this is the way you see life, see the world. This is how it is. This is the universe. And your concept of that, which we call it seems to be, because it's always seemed to work that way. It seems to be this way. And so then, that's like also a verbal fence. In other words, you can work inside that fence. I don't know if I can give a good example or not, but outside of that fence, you can do nothing. You don't even see the fence. There's no fence. You don't see nothing. You just see this is reality. It goes out there and gets smaller and smaller and smaller. It disappears, like where I'm less and less aware, and there's no edge there, no fence, but you can't really go anywhere that's outside of that. Now, how can I get
and outside of that means outside of the languaging The reality that you can explain to yourself in language, is that what you're, or the
Correct.
reality that automatically gets explained to yourself in language? That is the extent of our realities.
Correct. I don't know. Okay, I'm going to just venture into territory that I don't want to go because examples are screwing me up. But anyhow, just say socialism, Okay, that's a word and it's got some kind of meaning for a lot of different people and different meaning. And then if you do anything with politics and say socialism, or worse, you can't move out of there, You can't do anything outside in certain. There's fences there. There's all kinds of verbal fences that say, "Oh no, that's no good. Don't go there." "Oh my God, that's failed so many times in so many nations," and da 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 da. So then those are all words that there's got to be an easier one that's more personal that I can give a better example. So.
And let's go back maybe instead of that, before we get to that. What's the power and the meaningfulness of this image and model of this verbal envelope that you're talking about? Why is this meaningful and powerful to you that it's captured your attention and your interest to manipulate it and work with it?
Well, we know there's a lot of places in the world that we keep trying to do something, and then okay, I'll say it this way, we try to make a certain result, and we butt our heads against it. I don't know, like the result of just equanimity for ourselves could be, and it doesn't work. Or, we have it for a snatch, a few seconds, and we can get it, but then it goes away so quickly. And then, well, you could say like, fight against poverty in your country. Right, and we say we're doing that for a couple hundred years, but poverty is increasing. How about that? So then something is wrong with what we're doing, and we say, "Oh no, we know everything about what we're doing. We just aren't doing it hard enough." Or those other guys are making it screw up, and they're against us, but we know what we're doing. But do we? So we got a premise, and we're trying to get an action, right? And it doesn't work. Whatever, Like I want to have a vacation or something like that, and I can't really cut myself free of it. And I got a premise that I'm working on to try to get more vacation time. It's everything, And I keep working on the same premise to get a different result. And somehow, a lot of people believe that those old premises are really good. And okay, even in the scriptures, there are premises and they work sometimes and they don't work sometimes. Should they be renewed somehow? So then the verbal fence or the verbal container or the verbal context, that's the premise. So then in order to get a different result, we need a different premise. And we got to adjust our context or open it in order to get a different result. We're doing the wrong thing because it doesn't work. It's just a definition. Whatever is because we're doing what we do. And if what is not the way we want it, it's not changing like we envision, we're doing it wrong and our premise is wrong. So then we need a new premise. So then before we can work more hard and try to get this thing to happen, build this company or whatever, we got to go back and look and what's our business plan? It's screwed up. And our premise is wrong, And so then that's did I say that before? Like you enter a conversation and some people say, well, here's my point, let's take it and see where it'll go, here's a scenario. I say, no, wait, look at that premise. Let's go down and see what is the basis of that premise. Not all of them, some I can say, well, that's liberating, and some I'm repeating a little bit, and some I can say that's confounding. That premise is based on on something that's not going to, that in my experience hasn't given a result. And so then that's, I don't know, does that answer it?
In a way, can we, if we can bring it more to the personal and practical, either in your own experience or in general, what do you think are premises that many people, not when they're acting politically, but when they're just in their own personal life, what have you noticed some faulty premises that you think a lot of people are just acting on?
There's so many premises and so many beliefs. Okay, like okay, I'm willing to say, I haven't really checked this out fully on both sides, but I'm willing to throw it out there that all irritation, I would even say 100% of irritation, personal, family, world, community, racial, everything, is based on justice and injustice. This is the premise, you know. Oh, it shouldn't ought to happen that way. And then I'm irritated because I told you, I started the conversation, I said that this is the way I see it, is that we have a perception of what's happening, and what seems to be happening, we said, and then we have ideals of what should be happening. And when they don't match, then we have an emotional response, which is maybe makes us want to do something about it, you know. And then our premise is either look inside and see, you know, what can I do in my most powerful place is to change myself is my most power, right? Or most of the time we say, no, wait a minute, I'm okay. I don't have to change me. This guy's doing it, you know, and I got to change him, you know, or this other nation, or the mayor's no good, or the politicians are corrupt, or it's all outside, you know. And then that's the trouble with looking at the big picture, because mostly everything we do, we say, they should do this. They should do that. These guys should do this. But what should I do? What can I do? Just a little old me. I can't do nothing. So then why talk about that one, you know? Let's talk what I can do.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk, not that I think what I can do to myself may have some knock-on effect farther out, and if more people are doing it, maybe that's a good thing to go. But even if it's not, if it only affects me, okay, it's affected me, and that's a good thing because that's my world. So if all of my irritations are based on a feeling of justice, and other words come up, a justification or a judgment, you know, those words are all in that same frequency. So then if I know that about myself and I don't want to be irritated, how can I use that information, that knowledge, that clarity, that my irritation is connected to this judgment and judging and justice and justification? And how can I use that to be irritated less?
Well, you know, I mean, I think it's clear that justification and judgments, they're all based on judgment and justice, you know, what we think is justice. And justice is all based on the concept of innocence, right? This person, okay, let's talk about a puppy dog, you know. It's so innocent. And then we think that puppy dog should have a good life. You know, what should we enslave that dog and grow him up to be starving? And okay, or anybody, our child, or a community, or you know, an indigenous population, or so then these are innocents, right? So then the whole idea of innocence says, well, if you have the idea of innocence, it says, well, these people, they should be treated fairly, right? And that's kind of justice. Of course, mostly it's about me. I'm innocent, and I should be treated fairly. And so then I'm irritated when there's no justice. So then, okay, on a personal level, there is no justice, really. Justice isn't a thing. Justice is like our conceptual protocol towards innocence and culpability somehow, and we make that up. And so then if you say, okay, I'm irritated at something, you can refigure your protocols about innocence, and we're really talking about me, because who's against me, and who, and why is my life not unfolding the way I wished it would, or the way that somebody else's life is unfolding. And so basically, I mean, a lot of that is just that somehow my premises don't unfold my life, and so then I look for someone to blame it on, and then I'm irritated about it. And otherwise,
is there no way out of that?
Well, of course there's a way out of it. I mean, am I irritated at myself? I mean, blaming. Don't blame. Number one, don't compare. Why is my life like yours? It's nothing. It's nothing. I can't put your life hanging on me. I mean, okay, there's a guy out there we talked about a couple of times, Jordan Peterson. Oh, he's a real good presenter. I should compare myself with him and say, why don't I talk good like him, and why don't I have 1 million views? Well, I'm not going to compare myself with him, and I don't care about him, because I have to focus in on me. It's who's living my life? Is Jordan Peterson living my life? No, only I am. So screw him. I'm going to give my time. If I listen to him and he says some good things, I can. And if they are good, really, I will acknowledge it, because I'm not just against everyone. And but good things mean to me liberating and not confounding, not adding complexity on it, and then not taking off from the middle where everybody agrees, which I guess that's called realpolitik, where you have to just kind of work with what you can, and not really try to rebuild the whole system, which is very well needed. So then, personally. Yeah, you got to reformulate your premises, and
but I can see a lot.
Just tell me.
Yeah, I mean, if we go back to the start when you mentioned the Jordan Peterson thing, or comparing yourself, judging in comparison to someone else. I agree with what you said on that, but let's go a little bit more basic than that for me, where I feel like even without comparison to another person, I can get this irritation with my life or with my situation. Like, I would like something more, not because I look at someone else and they've got more, but maybe I'm bored with the food I'm eating and I want to actually eat something different. And it's not that I'm looking at someone else, or maybe I don't want to do this extra work because I'd rather do something else. And it's not in comparison to someone else. It's just, yeah. So I think if we can make the argument a little, or the example a little cleaner. Let's not involve anyone else. Let's just keep it only David is involved here, or only Richard. And there's still the irritation.
Okay.
What do you think?
It's all comparing. You're comparing to someone else without even knowing it. If you say there's some other food I want to eat, well, how do you know? Maybe you've only eaten, cornmeal and
no, because I have eaten it. I have eaten it before.
Peppers for all your life. How do you know you compared it? So anyhow, I'm not saying don't compare, because you have to. I mean, it's just there. You're aware, So I can't give any directives. Oh, you're comparing. Don't do that. But know that I'm comparing, and of course, when I compare, then I have a bad feeling, right? So then that bad feeling is not authentic. I know it's not authentic. It's just like, okay, I'm dipping my foot into this comparing regime. Okay, like what else did you say now? Besides, you wanted to do something else instead of doing what you're doing. Well, that's comparing. And then why don't you like?
It is comparing. Yeah, I agree. It is comparing, but it's not comparing to another person.
No, forget the other. Then I was just
exactly. That's what I mean. That's all I wanted to do.
It's all there anyhow, because we live in a world and we're on the internet, and even before that, we lived in a community and we worked in a company that had other people, and comparing is just part of it. Right. But in other words, I'm not saying that But I'm saying that's not a strong foot to step off of, right? I want to be like him. I want to be like Elon Musk. I want to be like, so that's not a strong foot to step on, step off of. But why is it? The question you should ask is, why is it that I want to do something else? Because I don't like what I'm doing now. Why is it that I don't like what I'm doing now? And if so, why am I doing it? And
Nice.
I have to. Okay, well then that's your compromise. You've made that up, and that's it. But what can you do then? The best thing you can do is to try to inquire what would give me satisfaction. Could say happiness, or I'll just say satisfaction and enjoyment out of doing what I do. How can I attack it in a different way, or dig myself in deeper and really find the reward that comes out of what I'm doing right now, and not instead of saying, no, I totally reject that. I'm not going to look into that anymore. And okay, I've got this irritated feeling every time I do that and go there and all that stuff. But why not look into where is that irritated feeling coming from?
Mm-hmm.
And instead of saying I'm going to reach over there, I'm going to go somewhere else. I want to go to travel. I'm going to go to.
Where have you found interesting things when you've reached for where is your irritating feeling coming from? I think something interesting that you just said to me is when you went deeper, you got to a place that said, I have to do that. Why am I doing something I don't want to? I have to. And that's already is that true? Is it really true that I have to? Or this is, yeah.
Yeah.
And
No,
then
you discover that you're working on a faulty premise. You're lazy, you don't want to look at it, right? And so that's the faulty premise, is the verbal container. Okay, if you say I have to work at this job, that's a verbal fence. That's verbal. That's not there. You're not fenced in there. You could say I have to live in this jail because they locked me in here, and then it would be more true, right? But you're not in a jail. You're just in a verbal fence, right? And we're all in a verbal fence. Even when we're in the jail, we're in a verbal fence. And then the idea is to build an addition on that fence.
Okay, so one of the additions I saw that you just said was, okay, one addition to make is, in doing what I'm doing, how can I find joy, and how can I make it full of life? So without actually, the first step was I don't want to do what I'm doing. Well, why not find something in the doing of it that is wonderful and interesting, and so look at it a different way. That sounds like an addition to the verbal
Correct.
landscape. So that's useful. So one, I noticed that I'm locked myself into a verbal pen. And then another, can I make the landscape more beautiful in this verbal pen, or extend the boundaries of the verbal pen? And that sounds like a good technique. And I have used that personally. How can I make this moment, or how can I be into this moment in such a way that it's fulfilling totally, and there's no urge to be anywhere else?
Okay, well, I don't know what to say there, this is a short video, right? And we can't solve the world problems or the personal problems, but we can give a hint.
Verbal fans.
We give a hint. No, we can do a series. Don't worry about it. We'll get to it. But right now, I don't want to really try to tell people how, because, okay, it's not that complicated and all that, but I just want to tell them that exists. We already told them. The world seems to be this way. Now, if you can already accept that, we can't tell people how to be. All we can do is hint that at openness, open and look for yourself. Open and look for yourself. Because if I tell people how to enjoy their job, what they don't like, that's
no, I don't mean that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. I meant pursue that inquiry in your own way. The inquiry of maybe there is a way to enjoy this moment as it is. I mean, I had this one very silly but profound moment for me many years ago. We're talking from Thailand, where it's a very hot country, and I was sitting on my motorcycle on the hottest days of the year. It was in the late afternoon. I'm facing into the sun, at a long traffic light on the hot asphalt, and it was just a furnace. It was so hot. And I'm sitting there and I was suffering. The heat was just, I was just trying to breathe, thinking, how can I get through this? And then I heard this laughter. And I looked to my left, and there were two schoolgirls on a scooter laughing and talking to each other, having the best time. And I thought, here we are on the same burning hot piece of asphalt, and they're just chatting and having fun. And they're enjoying this moment. And I thought, wow, there are ways to enjoy this moment. They were lost in their conversation, ignoring the heat. Okay. But it really instructed me, kind of to the point that I think that I picked out of what you said, that we can find other ways to be in this moment. In the first instance, we rejected the moment as not where I want to be. And maybe if we just look at the moment in a different way and enter it from a different perspective, we find, this moment's kind of not so bad. There's something nice going on. Like that. Not telling people what to do, but reminding people that there's more than one way to approach the moment.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I think that's a good ending point, because I think we should do segments, because already I wanted to do like 15-minute segments. I think we're around getting up to 45 minutes, though.
We are.
Let's just cut it off, and then anyone that wants to come and hear what we're going to figure out next, just come to the next segment. We'll do at least one more, and maybe we'll have another subject, and maybe we'll continue on this one. So that was a great example, David.
Great. Thank those schoolgirls.
Yeah.
Wherever you are, thank you.
I always thank Thailand because it's really where it is,
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.